Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and this is Friday. It's February 21st. This will be our chart lesson for today. Um, it really is a trading range day. It was. We've kind of broken into a downtrend now. My guess is we'll probably end up doing some kind of equal distance move here, somewhere like down in here in this area. We'll see what happens, but when we broke through there, it's pretty obvious we're going lower. I do see a channel here, and so my guess is we'll end up with an equal distance channel down through here. Um, there was also a upward sloping channel until right here. It gave way right here, um, and you can see it was obviously valid until then. But now we're working down just as well, even more strongly than we were then, because this is, even though this is an upward sloping channel, it's more of a trading range type days. Notice how we're swinging from side to side of the EMA. And I got a couple of emails. I got some people getting tripped up in here. And what is happening in here is the down move is not quite over yet, but you can't be going short in here, because we're too close to. There was actually a trading range right here. We failed out the bottom, we failed out the top, and then we went down and we failed out the bottom a couple more times. But we were looking for a measured move here. This would have been about the only thing. You got leg one right there, and then if you measured over, you'd see you'd be looking for a measured move down to here. And so you got to wait till this move is over. And really, there's a strong chance you might even go down to right here, because there's your overnight lows right there. And that's what we just kind of broke below previously down here. Um, so that was the ultimate goal of what they're trying to reach, are these overnight lows down here. Um, so, um, so you got to be careful going long right in here, because there's not really strong support here. The support is down here someplace. I can see I got that line off right there. But you can't ignore the strong support right there. But the ultimate support they're gunning for is down here. That's the overnight low, and that's what they're going to try to gun for if they can. So keep that in mind. So anybody that was trying to get long in here, you got to wait on a good setup. And there's actually a channel kind of working down through here too. So you did get a break right here, I believe. And it may not even be quite that way, because all these bottoms or these lows were looking more like that. And so this is probably going to be more like this right here. And so based on that, you don't really have a break of this line, because it's probably more like this right here. And you can see that's where we bounced when we came back. So, you got to keep that in mind too. You got to be careful looking for any longs in here. Um, but you could have seen this either way. You could have been looking at those lows right there. And if you did, eventually there was a chance to go long in here, and you could have gone long. Um, so I hope that's clear for those of you. And you had to do that. Just because you get a failed second entry. I mean, I get people that send me this stuff. Oh, there was a failed second entry, so I took it. Well, just because you see a failed second entry or a second entry doesn't mean you take it. You've got to understand the context of what's happening. You don't want to be taking any shorts down here, um, without a good reason. You got to have a reason down here. You need a trap or something. Even then, you got to be very careful. So, because once you touch this low side, the odds are you're probably going back to the high side, um, if it's indeed a valid channel. So, and this really just looks more like look how flat that is across there. You got to be really careful going short down here, and you got to be super careful going long up here. So, um, just keep that in mind. I hope that helps a little bit. Uh, but I see these emails, and somebody will say, this one couple got really, I think they got whipsawed both ways here. First they saw a failed second entry short and went long, or first they went long on a second entry long, and then that failed and turned into a second entry short, which failed, and then it went back, and eventually they did get long over here. Uh, but if they would just, what you got to do is you got to be patient and wait on a good setup, and I'll explain that to you in a minute. Notice when this finally reversed is when you had a failed second entry short, or two tries to go lower basically, and then you actually got a second entry long here. This is not really a failed second. Well, I guess it is if you're counting off the high. You get the first entry, pull back second entry, and it fails, and then it goes higher. So you might have thought about going higher on that break above that bar, but that is such an ugly, you know, if it would have broke lower and then turned up, but it didn't happen. So those are just upside, up down bars or whatever. And this one's it closes way back in the middle. It's just not a very good setup. And even going long right here, I didn't really like it, other than the fact that we were probably headed back to the highs now, and there is a second entry long here, which I'll show you when we get there. So let's go back and talk about what I saw. The first trade I really liked was a short. We traded down into this little range, so the odds are we're going to probably succeed to the lower side. So wait on a failed break out the high side and go short. There it is right there. There's a double top. It broke higher. It failed. It turned down. And when it broke below that bar, you might have used a limit order here because it didn't quite close on its low and it didn't break below that bar first. So, and you could have got filled, I think, on a limit order here. I just used a stop. Boom. It takes off. Easy scalp. And you probably could have ridden some runners down here trying to, till it started going into congestion, then you exit. And then there's also a short right here because there's a failed second entry long, and you had to be thinking about a target here and the other target that I showed you on the measured move. So there's enough reason for an aggressive trader to go short here. Here's your new high, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. It fails and it turns down, so just go short. And it got just enough for a scalp, so it works. And then suddenly you get this reversal out of here, but you don't want to go long above that bar with that being your signal bar, even though that's bouncing off this line, lower possible line here. You don't want to be going long above this signal bar. You got to wait on a good signal bar. So let me move this out and make this a little bit bigger just so it's a little easier to see. But notice how it breaks up and it closes back in there. And then you get a second entry long right there, counting off the lows, but then it pulls back and gives you a second entry long right here, counting off the highs. And so I like thinking about going long right there because now it's obvious we can't go lower. We've tried 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And this is really your low, and you tested it once, you tested it twice, and really you could almost count this as coming back and testing it. And then finally you get a bullish looking bar. It didn't quite close on its high either, so this is one where wait on the break higher and then maybe drop a limit order in there and see if you can get filled. But then you might even just wait. Notice all those matching highs. You get the breakout, the pullback, so that's a breakout pullback long. But you got to be careful about going long there because you got this possible trend line working down through here. So I went back and forth about whether or not to make that one green, but I liked that setup, figuring that we were coming back up to test these highs again. This is just a trading range. I mean, it's an obvious trading range day. And so I felt strong enough about going long there, and it was an easy move. It moved pretty quickly. And then I wanted to go short up here, but you didn't get a second entry till here. And look, there's no good setup bar. Just like down here, you didn't get a good long bar. You're not getting a good short bar here. So the only thing you might have done was when this bar broke below here, you might have dropped a limit order in there and tried to get short to see if you could take it a little bit lower. Because you just came off the highs. It's a trading range day. It's a good chance you could go lower. And if you do, you're probably headed back down to here. You're figuring that we're either going here or here, but it bounces right in here again. And So, and look at now look at this bar. That is rejection. When prices came down here and broke a little bit lower, and then closed and turned and went straight up. Just go long right there. If you want to wait on the second entry, it came right here, went right on through the EMA. It's high. This swing's higher than that swing. I mean, that's a clear, easy to see, but now people could see the range real clearly. So people were range trading for certain right here. There's a few coming in on these first couple, but more people are seeing it, more people trust it right here. So you can see that they clearly all jumped in. And then this would have been a nice place to go short if we had got a break below it, but we didn't, and it went higher. And then you kind of get this set up, which again, you might have thought about going short there, but it never breaks below until you get the overlap, and there's too much overlap. So now you're better off to wait on a good second entry, and you never get one. It drops down here, you make the lower low. It was tempting to take that second entry short off the low right here, but look at that. It's just a doji, and you got a lot of overlap. You know, too many times we've seen right in here you get trapped and it goes up and makes another move higher before it goes down. So just sit tight, and you never really get an opportunity to go short till here. Notice the new high, first entry long, pull back. There's a second entry long right there, and I was tempted to even go long right there if we'd have broke above this big bullish bar, but then it just turns and goes straight back down again. So when it breaks below that, you could go short if you wanted, but it was better to wait until you got another bar right there. It's like a little breakout pullback short. But I liked going short below that bar, but there's so much overlap there, it was better to wait and see if it would break out and then give you another entry, and it did right there. But I marked them both because you got a failed second entry long off that bearish bar right there. And I guarantee you some people tried to sneak in early down here and rode this up thinking they tricked everybody, and then they were the ones who got tricked. And then the bottom falls out of it here. So then you get another little two-legged move back up. Look at that bearish bar, and this is an obvious trend line now. It's matching off the lows. Just go short right there. And you can ride that one on down. And again, any runners were good. No runners off these two, but you definitely get runners. Actually, you could ride these runners down to here, but here you got some runners that could still be going. And you can see that median line is still holding right there, so we may get this low yet. And that was the last trade we really had, and that's what I saw today. And if you back out, it's pretty clear that that's just kind of a trading range, and there's different ways to see it. There's some, you know, you got your short-term ranges, and notice this one, you got to move up, you got a break here, a couple attempts to try to go. You did actually go higher here, so depending on how you had this one drawn, it might have been a little bit steeper. And if you did, you get a close outside of here. But a lot of times what will happen when you get the break, there's just too many people who know that the average day is going to be a trading range day, and it just can't muster up the strength to get a new high or a new low. Sometimes you'll get it and sometimes you won't. Just like right here, we broke out. We couldn't get back above the resistance again, and so you couldn't get a new high, and then it's working down. And just like there's actually one working, oops, I don't know what happened there. There's actually one working down right here, and we never, and I think what it is that one's too steep. I think it's probably more like this right here. And we broke above it, and we never could come back. So, but that's because too many people recognize it as a trading range day then. So, you know, just don't go out there blindly looking for second entries and failed second entries. And I think people get too caught up in looking for that, and they miss the big picture. They completely miss the big picture. So don't make that mistake. You gotta be able to understand the context. There's not hardly any failed second entry short down here at these lows that's going to be worth taking, because there's too big a chance to get trapped. And there's not too many failed second entry shorts up here that are going to be worth taking long, because the odds are you're not going to break out. You're going to get trapped. So don't be looking for any failed second entry longs or shorts, or you don't be looking for second entry shorts way down here, and don't be looking for second entry longs way up here, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Um, it's hard enough to figure out when to take second entries and when not to take them, and then people start trying to mix in the failed second entries and all with it, and they just get themselves all in a stew and all worked up and all confused. What you need to be doing, and this low should be probably down in here now, what you need to be concentrating on is learning to spot second entries first, uh, with the trend, the good ones that are going with the trend up or with the trend down, and stick to that first and foremost. And then once you get that down and you understand that really good, then you can start looking for the failed second entries that turn into traps that reverse and go the other way. And so it's like a building process. If you start trying to do it all at one time, um, some people can do that, but the majority of people, they just get all confused and they say, well, it was I saw a great failed second entry short, but they did see a failed second entry short, but it was in the wrong place. And, or they saw a great failed second entry long, but it was down here and it's in the wrong place. Um, so just be careful of that. And I don't know much else to say about that than you got to understand the context, and you got to be able to read the chart and know what prices are doing. Prices were still going lower here because they were trying to get a measured move down, and they were trying to test these lows down here. And then when they headed back up, yeah, they were trying to test the overnight highs up here, and that's what happened, and they're coming back down. But the buying was too strong, and now the selling's too strong. We had kind of an upward bias. Well, now we got a downward bias. And it could just get right back in the range and start heading higher and get a bias to the upside. Now, this is still a kind of a range day. So I hope that's clear to you. I hope it makes sense to you. And it might be that this median line's more like this, and maybe that's the lows there. So as you get more price action, you get a better feel for what's really going on. Sometimes you're guessing early, but as you get more price action, you can confirm all that stuff. So, um, if you're really experienced at reading it, you're pretty good at just the guessing part and almost not getting it correct before you get enough price action. But as you get the right price action, you can adjust it and double check things. So, a lot of lines on here today, and I hate putting them all on there, but I think you need to see them so you can see what I was looking at. But I'm going to wrap it up and call it a weekend. Hope you had a good trading week. We'll be back to do it next week. And this is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.